Hey guys, how's it going? Today I wanted to talk about the Megatins, not just specifically the 2025 Megatins. If you aren't aware, the entire set for the 2025 Megatins has been revealed, and let me just say, this is one of the worst sets ever. I thought the 2024 Megatins were bad because they were really awful, but this is just so bad. It's unbelievable Konami could actually one-up themselves and make a worse set than the 2024 Megatins. I saw the full list for the 2025 Megatin a while ago, but it's still completely shocking to me that Konami would actually make a set this bad. Now, I'm not going to go specifically in detail for the entire set because that would take a really long time and be pretty boring. However, I do just want to talk about how it's crazy that Konami took the original Megatin design, one of the best products ever made in Yu-Gi-Oh! For reprints, and turned it into this garbage. I honestly cannot understand how we went from the 2014 Megatins to the 2025 Megatins. It honestly feels crazy that the same company is making these packs. Now, if you guys aren't aware, originally the first Megatin packs were the 2014 ones. Before, Yu-Gi-Oh! Never really had a mass reprint set scheduled for the same time every year that reprinted important cards from core sets. You pretty much just had to wait until they were printed in a Gold Series pack or maybe a special edition promo or a tin promo. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has had tins for a long time, but we didn't have Megatins for quite some time into the game, not until the Zexal era at the end of it. So Konami starting the Megatins in 2014 was actually a really good thing. I like that idea a lot. There were some really expensive cards that you had no idea that were gonna get a reprint, so you were just stuck wondering if you wanted to compete whether or not you could get those cards for a decent price. You were pretty much just hoping Konami would reprint them in a decent enough amount of time before the cards became obsolete so you could still use them if you wanted to compete. This is why the 2014 Megatins were so good. You got reprints from core sets for cards that were really good and high in demand. You had really good cards from Legacy of the Valiant like Silent Honor Arc or Exciting Knight. Those Xyz monsters were so powerful when they came out that if you weren't using them, you just put yourself at a huge disadvantage. This was during the prime Zexal era, so Xyz monsters were by far the best summoning mechanic from the extra deck. Synchros were not even close. Honor Arc by itself fetched at least $50 to $60, and there was a time Exciting Knight would touch $100. It depended on when you bought them and when you needed the cards, but those were roughly the prices that I saw when they were at the peak of the meta. This is why the Megatins were so great. If you were somebody who wanted those cards, you could get them from the tins for a pretty decent price. The Megatins also just in general were so nice because another great thing about the Megatins is that you were guaranteed a foil. I know now in a lot of core sets you're guaranteed foils, but back in the day you were not. In Legacy of the Valiant back in 2014, you were not guaranteed a foil in every pack. You got around 4 or 5 super rares every box. You got 2 ultras, you got 1 ultimate and 1 secret rare. These were the rough ratios that you got per box, so you can understand why cards were so much more desirable and expensive. You weren't guaranteed a foil, so it made the foil cards a lot more expensive. This is another reason why the Megatins were so great for the individual packs. In each mega pack, you were guaranteed 1 super, 1 ultra, and 1 secret rare. It was pretty nice knowing you were getting 3 foils, and one of them could be an Exciting Knight, a Mecha Phantom Beast Plane Draco Sack, or an Honor Arc. The sets were also pretty small, which was nice because they were printing so many sets in one pack. The total amount of cards for that mega pack was only 247. Yes, I know 247 sounds like a lot, but it really isn't. You have to remember that the mega pack were printing 4 total core sets, and each core set has 100 cards each. This means that each set got roughly 62 cards, which is actually a pretty decent margin. Konami was actually pretty smart when they made the original Megatins because they cut out a lot of the garbage. There was so much trash filler that nobody wanted, and they actually were smart enough to take those cards out of the set. Now, if you fast forward to the future, Konami does the exact opposite. What they do now in the Megatins is they bloat the sets with so much garbage where it makes it hard to get the cards that you actually want. The total amount of cards that Konami's were printing in this year's Megatin is 450. Why do we need that many cards in a Megatin? All this does is it bloats the sets to make it hard to pull the actual good cards. Now, this is obviously what Konami wants. They want to bloat the set to make it harder to pull the actual good cards. This means that you'll spend more money buying more Megatins, and it works out well for them because obviously they profit more. However, it sucks for the player base because we're stuck getting all the garbage when we just want a couple good cards out of here. Another funny thing is Konami actually upped the amount of foils that you get in a pack. Before, you only used to get 1 super, 1 secret, and 1 ultra out of a Megatin pack. In the 2025 Megatin pack, you get 3 ultra rares, a starlight rare, and 1 prismatic secret rare. But you have to remember, there are 450 cards in one set. How am I supposed to pull any of the good starlight rares when you just fill it with garbage? It's honestly laughable that Konami thinks that people would want some of these cards in a starlight rare. Why is Borocode Dragon a starlight rare in this set? That card is awful. If you don't know what card I'm talking about, this is the card that was on the cover for Burst of Destiny. This card has a really trash effect to destroy all monsters on the field if you use 3 monsters to link summon it. Can only be used during the battle phase, by the way. It also has another effect to banish this card from the grave and a dark monster with 3000 or more attack on the field. Then you special summon a topologic monster from your extra deck. Now, this would be a pretty decent effect because you don't have to banish your own monster, you can banish an opponent's monster. The problem is that all the topologic monsters suck. All of them suck besides Gumbler, but Gumbler's broken so he's banned, so you're stuck with all the bad ones. Konami really had the nerve to turn this garbage card into a Starlight in the set? Who's gonna be happy to pull this card? What makes things even worse is that Konami's already double dipping some of the Starlight rares from the quarter century sets. Starlight Road is gonna be a Starlight rare in this year's Megatins, and I'm sure some people will be happy about that because they play older formats. Now normally I would have no issue with Starlight Road being a Starlight rare, but they already made this card a quarter century rare in quarter century Bonanza. Why does this card need to have multiple rarities that look almost identical? Now I know people are gonna say Starlight rares are a different rarity than quarter century secret rare. Okay, sure, but they look almost identical. Do you know how angry some people are gonna be who opened that set and got a Starlight Road? They're gonna be even more upset when they get Starlight Road in almost the exact same rarity. This is nothing about Starlight Road as a card, by the way. Starlight Road is a great card in some of the older formats, but it's just so stupid how Konami is double dipping, reprinting the card in almost the exact same rarity. The fact that they're trying to pretend that Starlight Rare is still a rare rarity when they've been making quarter century secret rares for so long is a joke. They've been making quarter century secret rares for a long time in different sets and they look almost identical. It's just so sad looking at the set and seeing all the Starlight rares that nobody's gonna want. I thought last year's Dueling Mirror Tins were worse because that set was so bad. It was also filled with so much pack filler and garbage cards that nobody wanted. I truly did not think Konami could make a worse Megatin set than Dueling Mirrors because that set had 400 cards in it. But no, it does appear that Konami could make a worse set because this year's Megatins are even worse. 450 cards just full of garbage. This really does make me sad to think about because before the Megatins used to be so great. These were by far the best products all year in 2014, 2015. You could ask anybody who played and I'm pretty sure they'd tell you the same thing. It's honestly really sad how bad the Megatins have gotten and it's nobody's fault other than Konami. They are intentionally killing their own products by making them as bad as possible. This is not an accident, it's them doing it on purpose. I used to look forward to the Megatins every year because they used to be very exciting products, but not anymore. I honestly feel like the quality of sealed product is just going down so far and Konami doesn't do anything to stop it. These sets are just going to be even worse. But like I said, maybe that's their intention because everything they're doing is on purpose to make the sets as bad as possible. It makes me really sad to think about it that way, but they're the ones in charge of the game and they decide everything. Hopefully one day the Yu-Gi-Oh! Megatins will be actual good products again that get people excited for the game, but that doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon. Anyways, that's it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Take care.